MEPs are voting today, in fact, in about an hour's time, on a series of laws that will form a new migration pact. The Migration and Asylum Pact aims to overhaul the EU's legislation and border rules, which could redefine the future of the EU's borders. Well, joining me now to discuss this is Italian political commentator Paolo Diana and Charles-Henri Gallois, leader of France's Generation Frexit. So we've got the Italian and the French perspective. Let's start with you, if we could, Paolo Diana, because this has been driven by Giorgia Meloni, the Italian premier, who's in favour of this because she feels that Italy is simply doing more than its fair share, of course, because the numbers of illegals arriving into your country are absolutely astronomical.
Absolutely. Thank you, Martin. I'm in favor as well. We all know that we don't have any migration law so far in the EU. So this is a first step towards a political solution of this huge problem that is illegal immigration. And we all know that giving money to countries that surround Europe, particularly in those countries that face the Mediterranean Sea, like Algeria, Tunisia, and also Egypt, it's a pragmatic, good way to start solving the problem, particularly of people smugglers, because we know it's like a mafia gaining money from these poor, desperate people dying, trying to reach Europe. They're not perfect countries eventually in thinking about democracy, but this is not our fault. And this is what Europe anyway is doing with the Turkey, because in 2016, we know that there was an agreement with Turkey to stop illegal migrants. So I think overall it's a very good pointing start, and I hope it will vote.
OK, now let's turn to Charles-Henri Gallois, leader of France's Generation Frexit. What's the situation in France there, Charles-Henri? Because I understand that Emmanuel Macron frantically phoning his old friend Donald Tusk, trying to get Polish MEPs to abstain.
I mean, all the parties in France are against this pact except Emmanuel Macron party, because this pact is a total disaster if you look at it. I mean, the Europeans are not trying to fight against illegal immigration, but they're trying to allocate illegal immigrants within the countries. And it's a total disaster when you look at the figures. I mean, if you refuse to relocate these migrants to your country, for example, it's 20,000 euro per migrant. For France, it will be something like 2 billion euro fine if we don't want to do it. So it's totally anti-democratic scheme. And if you look at it, I mean, the EU, they are not trying to stop illegal immigration. Frontex, the border agencies are more like taxi for migrants, that an agency that try to stop immigration. I am quite surprised, but not that much surprised by Italy's position, because it's true that Italy is suffering from illegal immigration, but the true solution would be to fight really against illegal immigration, which the EU is not doing it. And I'm quite surprised Giorgia Meloni, that campaign against immigration, now want to host 400,000 migrants per year, and she's doing like a friend with Ursula von der Leyen. So as a French, it's a very bad pact. And of course, if I had a vote in this parliament, I would vote against this migrant pact.
And how do you respond to that, Paolo Diana? No, we heard Charles-Henri there saying he's surprised Italy is in favour because this doesn't stop the boats. It merely relocates and disperses those arriving into the EU bloc.
Well, first of all, it's a starting point. It's not the solution to everything. We all want to stop the boats, and striking deals with Algeria, Tunisia, and Egypt will help stopping the boats. So the things are connected. And also, there's no surprise, because if you believe in Europe, you think that it's the right thing to do to divide and allocate these illegal migrants through all the countries, right? If you don't believe in Europe, then there's no need. But so Italy shouldn't be forced to keep all these illegal migrants because of European laws. And because eventually all these charitable ONG boats, all with a German flagship, they're taking on board all the illegal migrants in the Mediterranean Sea, and then they're not taking them to Germany. Surprisingly, they're taking them to Italy, and Italy has to keep them. So we shouldn't be surprised of only one thing. We should see the bigger picture.
Okay, and Charles-Henri, it's worth pointing out that a lot of these socialists, those on the liberal left, they're also against this plan because they think it's too extreme, because it gives powers of detention for up to 6 months, returns within 12 weeks. And with all of this added together, Charles-Henri, do you think this vote will struggle to get through today? And if so, could this be calamity for the European Union?
I hope the vote won't pass, but it's true that the right and the left are voting sometimes against for different reasons. I don't think this text is tough against illegal immigration. I think, on the contrary, it will foster illegal immigration, because most of the illegal immigrants, they don't want to stay in Italy, or they don't want to stay in Spain, but they want to go in Germany, they want to go in France, and then maybe they want to go to the UK. So, I mean, sometimes, some are criticizing Brexit, but I think you're very lucky to be out or not to suffer such a kind of text. And I mean, even when they say about Brexit, they say about economic difficulties. But when you look at the big picture, it's a global economic crisis in Europe, and the figures are not worse in the UK than in the Eurozone, for example. So you should thank God to be out and to be able to do your own choices, and not to suffer from European standards that are imposed to you. Basically, you're back to a democratic country, and I hope that France will be the same soon, in order not to suffer this kind of pact, which is awful.
OK, thank you very much. We have to leave it there. And that's Paolo Diana with the perspective from Italy, and Charles-Henri Gallois, the perspective from France. And all eyes on Brussels for that vote. We'll, of course, have that throughout the show.